Welcome to LFC Transfer Hub. Liverpool held transfer talks with Mohamed Salah during AFCON over future. Second news is Man Ut, legend tells Arne Slot what he has lost at Liverpool in blunt Darwin Nunez example. Third news is Kostas Tsimikas could be offered Premier League lifeline after Roma transfer nightmare. Now details. Discussions between Liverpool sporting director Richard Hughes and Mohamed Salah'S agent Rami Abbas reportedly continued during the Africa Cup of Nations. Salah's future at Liverpool looked uncertain shortly before he departed Liverpool for AFCON in December. After a series of incendiary remarks he gave to reporters in the mixed zone at Elland Road following a 3-3 draw, in which he was an unused substitute. The Egyptian accused the club of throwing him under the bus, while also saying he no longer had a relationship with Liverpool head coach Arne Slot. Salah was dropped for Liverpool's next game, away to Inter Milan in the Champions League, but positive talks between Slot and Salah upon the squad's return from Italy saw Salah restored to the squad for a 2-0 Premier League win over Brighton. Prior to that game against Brighton, it felt as though Salah might have played his last game for the club, and that he could have ended up leaving during the January transfer window upon his return from AFCON. But a good performance against Brighton, followed by a warm exchange with Liverpool's supporters after the game, plus a lack of noise surrounding his future in the weeks since, suggested that the storm had passed. The Athletic reports that dialogue between Hughes and Abbas remained open throughout AFCON, and that Salah is expected to stay at Anfield until at least the end of the season. Slot was asked about his relationship with Salah in a press conference on Tuesday ahead of today's Champions League game against Marseille. As normal as it has always been, Slot responded. There was only one exception, and that was the game against Inter where I didn't take him. But for all the games he was there, in the last game he was at Liverpool before he went to the AFCON, he came in after 15 or 20 minutes. I think he had a very good performance in that game. We were 1-0 up at the time and we beat Brighton with 2-0. I think he left in a situation that was good for him, and for us because we beat Brighton and he played again and then he went to the AFCON. Again, he did what he usually does, scoring goals. Unfortunately, he couldn't win the tournament, but there were other very good teams in that tournament as well. But he got to the semi-final, and now he's back with us. Of course, I spoke to him today, and I'm happy to have him back. Second news is Man Ut, legend tells Arne Slot what he has lost at Liverpool, in blunt Darwin Nunez example. Former Manchester United goalkeeper Peter Schmeichel has claimed Liverpool's issues this season have partly arisen from the summer departures of Darwin Nunez and Luis Diaz, and the impact they had out of possession. The duo were among the swathe of summer departures before the 2025-26 campaign, with Diaz joining Bayern Munich and Nunez signing for Saudi Arabian side Al Hilal. In their absence, the replacements of Alexander Isak and Florian Wirtz have not had an immediate impact, although the latter is beginning to find his feet, and fellow summer addition Hugo Ekitike has adapted quickly to the pace of the Premier League. But it's not the offensive output Schmeichel feels Liverpool are missing from the exits of Diaz and Nunez, but the South American duo's work rate and defensive output. When you lose players like Luis Diaz and Darwin Nunez, just to use those two as examples, you lose a very aggressive press from the front, the Dane told Sky Bet. They press high, they press aggressively, and that helps you win the ball in midfield or even higher up the pitch. It stops the ball from dropping into midfield and then forcing your back four to deal with everything. So when those players are missing, it changes how you defend and where you win the ball back. That's a big shift. And to be clear, they haven't defended differently this season compared to last season. The system is the same. It's still high risk, still a high line, still defending with Virgil van Dijk running towards goal, winning balls and covering space. That hasn't changed. What's changed is the pressure in front of them, and that changes the type of situations they face. It's mostly an adjustment. Once the players settle and the new pieces gel, the quality they've brought in combined with the quality they already had will make them a force again under Arne Slot. It's not that they aren't a good team now, they are. But then you add injuries to key players and it disrupts everything. You also see it in little partnerships around the pitch, added Schmeichel, who won 5 league titles at Old Trafford during his distinguished career. Mo Salah, for example. For years he's played in front of Trent Alexander-Arnold, and that partnership has been brilliant, very effective. Trent learned how to give Salah the right kind of space. Now, Salah has a different player behind him who may not understand that relationship yet, and suddenly Salah can look slightly out of the game. That's not just on the player behind him. Salah also must adjust to a new way of playing. News is Kostas Tsimikas could be offered Premier League lifeline after Roma transfer nightmare. On loan Liverpool left-back Kostas Tsimikas could be in line for a premature return to the Premier League. With a little under 2 weeks to go in the transfer window, machinations have begun to extract him from his spell in Rome. Tsimikas was allowed to leave Anfield on a temporary basis last summer, following the arrival of Milos Kerkez. The Hungarian has been deputised by the more than able Andy Robertson. It hasn't all been plain sailing for Kerkez, with Jamie Carragher dubbing him the full-back equivalent of the erratic Darwin Nunez. Nevertheless, Tsimikas is still considered surplus to requirements at Liverpool for the time being, but Nottingham Forest is showing an interest in bringing him back to England. According to The Athletic, the Italian side would be receptive to letting Tsimikas leave, provided it can source a replacement before the end of the January transfer window. The Greece international has made just 4 Serie A starts this season, appearing as a substitute a further 7 times. Tsimikas has provided a single assist, which came early in the Europa League campaign. But longtime Atalanta coach Gian Piero Gasperini has preferred Wesley Franca, and occasionally veteran Stefan El Shaarawy, as the wing-back in his back three shape. Liverpool.com understands that Nottingham Forest's interest in Tsimikas dates back to the summer. The Reds were reluctant to sanction a loan, preferring a permanent sale, but ultimately signed off on the temporary switch to Roma in the closing stages of the transfer window. Since then, there have been 2 new managers at the City ground, but it seems Greek owner Evangelos Marinakis would still be interested in bringing his compatriot to Forest. Oleksandr Zinchenko's loan has not worked out, and it's anticipated that he will return to Arsenal before heading out to Ajax. Meanwhile, attack-minded 22-year-old left-back Cuiabano could be in line for a loan away from the East Midlands. One of a quartet that Nottingham Forest signed from Botafogo last summer, there are question marks over how he will suit Ditch's style compared to that of Nuno Espirito Santo. It's as yet unclear whether Forest would be targeting a loan or a permanent move for Tsimikas, but provided the Roma deal is terminated, he will be able to join another club unencumbered, having not featured for Liverpool this season prior to making the move. That makes his situation different from that of Harvey Elliott, who is having a torrid time at Aston Villa. Should that loan be terminated, he would only be able to move to a league that does not operate on an August-May schedule, e.g., MLS, having already represented 2 clubs in a single campaign. Tsimikas' highlight in a Liverpool jersey to date was undoubtedly the winning penalty in the 2022 FA Cup final against Chelsea. He has also lifted the Premier League and 2 League Cup titles with the Reds. He established himself as a reliable backup to Robertson under Jurgen Klopp, after joining from Olympiacos in 2020. Interestingly, it was Marinakis who brought Tsimikas to the Greek club in the first place, so he knows him well. At 29, the defender will be keen to find regular football again soon. A move to Nottingham Forest would place him in competition with another former Liverpool fullback in Nico Williams.